Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, your home for all content Lord of the Rings home. 2 videos today, the 2 swag special. We got more news dropping from CH1, and it's about a big topic that I think a lot of people care about. It's about the bomber RNG changes. So I just want to go through that. We'll get this video out, and I'm pretty happy about the results, but let's get through it. Hello Ring Bears, we have been hard at work improving the experience as much as possible for you in home, specifically with the next update. We've taken a concerted effort at reducing the randomness in Chapter 1 of the Mines of Moria raid. In doing so, we believe that we have created a better experience and hope to alleviate much of the pain that comes from running this first chapter. You may be asking yourself, well, that's nice. When's the next update? And I'm pretty sure it's going to be sometime next week because Lord Balin Marquee event starts October 2nd, and they need to be able to put the Marquee and his character and game data into the game. That's going to come with a patch. That patch is probably going to come next week. If I were to guess, which I'm in the business of doing now, sometime between Tuesday and Thursday of next week is when this will go live. Our goals for this change were, to the best of our ability, maintain the current scores that players are currently seeing with as many of their active raid squads as possible. Reduce the randomness in the encounter by eliminating the unpredictability of when the Moria bomber will throw their bomb. Yes. Balancing the difficulty between all potential orc reinforcements. Having played both the old and new versions of Chapter 1 many times with our own personal accounts, in addition to testing it with a variety of cloned live accounts, that is an interesting tidbit for me. We don't need to delve into that more, but that's interesting. We are confident that the changes will give you more control over the outcome of each attempt. We hope that these changes result in a better overall experience for you. However, there will be a fairly short learning curve to rediscover and adjust your personal strategies on how to best deal with the new bomber. Let's keep that sentence in mind. Note that due to these new rules, there's a distinct difference in play and effectiveness from squad to squad. While we have reduced the randomness significantly, there's still some randomness innate to any combat system. That's fine. A few attempts may still be needed to ensure your best results, but the overall number of attempts should be drastically reduced. Great. There's still a number of attempts to ensure your best results for chapters 2 and 3, but not a huge amount. The overall number of attempts should be drastically reduced is exactly the type of thing that we are looking for. So this last sentence here where we may need to readjust our strategies, and that also these new rules, there's a difference in play style between squad to squad and effectiveness between squad to squad. I think that's to be expected. So if you were going in and getting 300k points with just Ironhide, that's not going to work anymore. So sorry about that, but this is actually a better change than making sure that your Ironhide could just get 300k points. I also think what they're talking about is that each team is going to have some strategies that you want to use. That's going to be different from team to team, which is great. We hope that you all will enjoy the changes we've made in Chapter 1 and look forward to following your progress deeper into the Mines of Moria raid. So here we go. Here are the changes. Changes to the Warguard. The Warguard no longer applies Taunt with their abilities. On his basic, he no longer provokes, which would happen if he didn't have Taunt. Yes, to make a joke about his provoking strike no longer provoking. And then Threatening Slam, his special one, the move that did provide Taunt, is now a provoke. Interestingly, Chapter 1 gives you just 1 stack of provoke. But when you're in Chapters 2 and 3, it gives you 2 stacks of provoke. No details on Chapter 4, obviously, but 2 stacks of provoke in Chapters 2 and 3 seem pretty fine to me. That makes things manageable in Chapters 2 and 3. I really like that it's only 1 stack in Chapter 1. I think, well, I'll talk about that in a second. Moria bomber changes. Here's the big stuff. Don't Rush Me no longer indicates which team to throw the bomb at by an increasing percentage. So they got rid of the variability there, the RNG. If a Moria bomber takes a turn with 1 to 4 stacks of Don't Rush Me, the bomb will always be thrown at the player's team. If a Moria bomber reaches 5 stacks of Don't Rush Me, they will immediately take a turn and throw the bomb at their own team. So there's 2 things I want to say here. It's basically moving from a RNG luck-based system, right, where you've got some percentage of the bomber's supposed to throw at your team versus drop it on his own team, and they've made it binary. The second part of that, which is a good change. The second part of that, which I think is very interesting and probably makes sense considering their previous comments about readjusting strategy and whatnot, is that take a turn as soon as they reach 5 stacks. So This means that you are going to have a lot more control and a lot more strategy over when the bomber is going to be dropping that bomb. Let's say you're at 4 stacks, right? You are going to be able to get other orc health down into the yellow so that you can kill them with the bomber. If you can gauge the speed of your characters accurately enough such that you think, okay, I'm definitely going to be able to get that 5 stacks. I've got maybe a little bit of breathing room here. I can get some other characters down. This also means you're going to encounter more situations where your AoEs are not going to, maybe you don't AoE because you want to work on getting health down for the other orcs, and you think that they're not there yet, and you have 4 stacks on the bomber, right? Also, a double bomber situation is going to be pretty interesting, right? If you can get to 1 bomber, get him down into 50% health or lower, then you can make sure that you don't have to worry about that second bomber because you can guarantee that the first bomber is going to be totally fine at blowing up the second bomber. There's just a lot more strategy and decision making. And I think it's going to be on a team-by-team basis, like they mentioned. What team you're using is going to completely change how you're approaching Chapter 1. R2R is going to be completely different than, Isengard, right? I think Isengard's going to actually have a lot more viability now because they can focus maybe on applying Banes elsewhere to work on their regeneration. So I'm a big fan of these changes. I'm a really big fan of these changes. I think there's some people who think this is too easy. Kind of where I fall on that is it's Chapter 1 of the raid. I think it should be the easiest chapter with ramping up difficulty. I know there are a lot of people out there who can't get into Chapter 2. They maybe don't have a full guild or as an active as guild, or maybe they're just newer players. They're not completely optimized in their rosters, right? I think this will greatly help people kind of work their way towards Chapter 2 and not get frustrated with Chapter 1. I think these are really, really awesome changes, and they made these changes in actually a relatively timely manner, right? They heard our feedback. We don't like this. We don't like this. We don't like this. Please change it. They heard that feedback. They did some, monitoring on their end. Then they did some simulation and testing on their end, and now we have this. I'm a pretty big fan. Let's finish the last part of this up, though. There's speed changes. Each of the Moria orcs now has unique speed as compared to other Moria orcs. The changes are minor, but result in a more consistent opening round. So this is my interpretation, but I still think that these are in speed order. So Shadowseer is first with an unchanged speed, and he's got a speed of 161, I believe, the same as Nuraz. Mangler, Firestarter, and Skullcrusher get slight increases to speed. They were originally all at the same speed, along with the Bomber at 154, which is the same speed as Dunhar. Moria Bomber, 154 speed, same as Dunhar, it's unchanged. War Drummer and Warguard are unchanged, and they're slower. Let's take a quick look. Let me move myself over here. Let's just slide on over. Let's go down. So if we look, Nuraz right here, 161, and Dunhar right here at 154, right? So now I think what's happening is that Firestarter, Mangler, and Shadow Crusher are all going to be somewhere kind of in this 161 to 155 to 160 range, probably. This just makes things a lot more consistent. It was kind of annoying when you had to kind of guess who was going to be going first. Makes things a little bit more consistent there, which is good just from an overall gameplay perspective and not being confused about what's going on. But two, there were a few instances where maybe if you had characters also in the speed range, you were kind of relying on one character going first as opposed to the other. And this basically takes care of that. One thing to note, this is from CG Heme, these speed changes apply to all the chapters. And I guess the bombs, they didn't reduce the bomb damage or anything like that because it's easier to get 5 stacks on anymore. But what that means is that Chapter 3 might be a little bit harder. So I don't think these speed changes, they say it's minor speed changes. That's why I don't think they're going to be greater than the Shadowseer. But there will be small changes, which I think will affect you in Chapter 3. I don't know exactly how that's going to play out. Probably not a lot. Okay, with that, my final thoughts on this are, this is a great change. Moving it from RNG to binary is massive. It introduces strategy. It reduces the randomness of the whole event. It's great change for Chapter 1. I don't think it's too easy. It's going to be coming sometime next week. I think that's basically the gist of it. So with that, thanks for watching. Take it easy.